It's hard to believe that we're 4 years away from Iron Man being 20 years old. I haven't really wanted to see any of the past Marvel movies recently. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was the last Marvel movie that I saw in theaters, and it wasn't too bad. I remember when I first saw Civil War, I was excited to see a fight between all the Avengers, and I was not disappointed. The plot of Civil War is almost completely incomprehensible. Half the time, I really didn't know what the hell was going on, because some of the movie was about the Avengers being put in check, other parts of it was about the Avengers being torn apart, but the plot is not something that I'm going to criticize Civil War for, because I knew going in to see Civil War that it was just going to be movie junk food. So plot isn't really necessary for a movie like The Avengers or for Civil War. The only Marvel movies that really make sense anymore are the ones that come first. And when I say the ones that come first, what I mean is the ones that introduce us to the heroes or the heroines that are eventually going to be members of the Avengers. And currently there's only 6 of those movies, or 5 if you choose to exclude The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, which I do exclude that one, unfortunately, not because I don't like that one, but because now it doesn't even seem important or relevant to the plot of the Avengers, and as far as I know, they're not going to make a sequel to The Incredible Hulk. But I'm not going to complain about that one right now, so I'll save that one for another time. Iron Man was the first Marvel movie that set off the chain of Marvel movies that we currently have going on that are all related to each other. Iron Man had a great story. It had amazing character development and introduced non-comic book readers like myself to a character that we knew absolutely nothing about and made us very big fans of him very quickly. And that's basically what all the other Marvel movies following Iron Man have done. We're introduced to the characters that are imperfect or with flaws in their moral compass, and when they gain their powers, they change or make the choice to change. That's a very general description of all Marvel movies that came before their sequels. It happened in Thor, Captain America, the First Avenger, and in Guardians of the Galaxy. I guarantee you that the plot I just outlined is going to be the same general plot for the other Marvel movies that aren't sequels and that introduce us to the heroes or heroines that are eventually going to be members of the Avengers. Taking that into consideration in regards to Civil War, though, the story was inconsistent all the way through and full of plot holes, but it wasn't so inconsistent that it was on the level of The Dark Knight Rises, aka the worst superhero movie of all time. I was only a little bit disappointed by the story because I was under the impression that Captain America, Bucky, Black Panther, and Iron Man were going to have a big battle with the big bad team of super soldiers and Baron Zemo, the guy that put things in motion in Civil War. However, what did end up happening was equally satisfying and fun to watch, even though the fight didn't really seem to end in a way that made sense. The only thing I really took issue with in Civil War was how they brought Ant-Man into the plot and how they introduced Spider-Man. They literally introduced Ant-Man into Civil War by saying, and we picked up this guy along the way. I wish they would have written a way more organic way to introduce those two into the story, and I wish they would have used Ant-Man and Spider-Man in a way that was more important to the story of Civil War. But no, they just brought him in for a good fight scene at the airport, which, mind you, I liked the fight scene at the airport, but they only introduced Spider-Man and Ant-Man specifically for that fight scene. It was just so annoying and knowing that that was the only reason that they were there. And I won't deny that it was awesome to see Spider-Man finally getting his chance to fight alongside the Avengers, and it was even more awesome to see Ant-Man become a giant for the first time. And even though I knew Ant-Man had that power, it still surprised me that he used it in this movie instead of saving it for the next Avengers movie. Captain America Civil War was an enjoyable flick, and I'd definitely watch it again. Also, Black Panther was very badass, and I really want to see more of that guy in the future because he was really cool. Captain America Civil War gets 4 stars out of 5.